At this point, we have already registered for an Ag Weather Network account. And so we will go ahead and start entering information into the Irrigation Scheduler program. I will enter the username and I will enter the password. And in this case, I would like it to remember me, and then I will log in. This brings up the first screen in the Irrigation Scheduler mobile program. To get started, we will first click Add a New Field. This program will schedule a number of different fields using the information that we add about each field. So we will add a new field. In this case, we will have a field of dry beans. And the year is 2014. We're in Twin Falls, Idaho, and so we will be using the Agromet network that has information for Washington, Oregon, Idaho, Nevada, and Montana. And then within Idaho, we will select the Twin Falls station. We are going to be using dry beans, and we have a silt loam soil. When this information is correct, we would click Add the Field, and that stores this information. Now we also need to add a little bit more information about the rooting depth and planting date for this particular crop. And so to do that, we will go to the Field Settings tab, and it has a number of other pieces of information that you can look over. The defaults for all of those things are really quite good. In this particular case, the default for emergence date was May 26th. We planted a later variety of dry beans, and so we really didn't get emergence until, in this case, about June 10th. And so it says the emergence date should be before crop canopy cover. Well, that we need to change this particular value as well. So we have emergence on June 10th, and then the canopy is going to exceed 10% crop cover on probably about June 17th. And then we're going to have a 70% cover on, let's say, July 15th in this case. Maturation date is going to be August 10th. And then end of growing season is August 30th. So the factors that you would want to change for your specific crop are the dates when it achieves each one of these milestones. And then you would also want to verify the maximum managed rooting depth. In this case, for the dry bean variety we have and the soil conditions we have, we know from experience that the depth is only 18 inches. All of the other values look fine, and so we're going to update the field. After we've updated the field information, we get the soil water chart view on our screen, and that shows us by the blue line the water content in inches of stored soil water that's held between field capacity where it's full and 50% available that we specified in the default. We want to keep the blue line between the full line and the initiation of water stress line. At this point, we've had a little bit of rainfall that brought the moisture content up a little bit. And then with no irrigation, we're starting to use more and more of the stored soil water. Notice that the width of this bar between full and stress value gets wider as the season progresses. This corresponds to root growth, where we're getting a deeper root zone as the season progresses. At this point, we're sitting here on about the 23rd of June, and we're approaching the stress value, so we probably should irrigate. Let's look, and to do that, we will look at the daily budget table. The daily budget table has a column that has water use, aggregate estimated water use in inches per day. Notice that early on it's very low, and then as the canopy develops, it gets higher and higher. We have a column for rain and irrigation. Our available water column represents the percentage of the water stored between field capacity and wilting point that is present in the crop root zone depth. For dry beans, we want to keep this above 50%. So if this gets down to about 50% available water, we start getting water stress. The following column is water deficit. This represents the inches of water that it would take to refill the crop root zone to 100% available water. So at this point, it looks like we could add 7/10 of an inch of water by irrigation and refill the profile. So let's irrigate with 7/10 of an inch and save that, and it will update the value, and we are now at essentially 100% available water. Graphically, that would look like we were at this point, and now today we've irrigated and we are now at 100% water. And then this is forecast values if forecast for the next few days is about the same water use as we have now. So we're going to be using a fair bit of water in the next week. Notice that 7/10 of an inch brought this back to field capacity with this particular irrigation. Notice that this particular chart goes from the 17th up through the 23rd, which was yesterday. At this point, the screen is forecasting approximate values for the next 7 days based on aggregate information. And so we're sitting here on the 24th, and it's forecasting through the 30th. Notice that with these estimated forecast values of ET, our available water is dropping from 93% down to about 65% by the 30th. On dry beans at this stage, crop stress may occur once you're down below about 60%. And so we're saying at that point, it would take 8/10 of an inch on the 30th to bring us back to a full profile. Because we're irrigating with a center pivot irrigation system, on this particular soil, we can generally add only 8/10 of an inch of irrigation per pass before we get runoff. So we must limit our irrigation per pass to about 8/10 of an inch net irrigation. For most irrigation systems, that would actually mean applying about 1 inch of water, with 80% of the water being effective in reaching the soil surface and being effective for crop water use. So we're adding 8/10 of an inch of effective irrigation or net irrigation. If we did this on the 29th, looking ahead to the 29th, and if we did that on the 29th and added 8/10 of an inch, that would bring us back to 100% available water. And so we could look at the soil water chart, and it brings us back on the 29th. This is estimated use, and then we irrigate on the 29th, and it brings us back up to here, and we have a completely full profile again. As we indicated, the dotted lines indicate forecast values, and so we're sitting here on the 24th. Everything beyond the 24th is forecast, but it does let us see what would happen if we irrigated at any point in the near future, and what that would do to the water stored in the crop root zone, and how close to the crop stress value we would come with different irrigation strategies. That's the end of this particular video. You can consult the online User's manual, if you want additional information for looking at additional things you can do or change with the program. It's a very valuable program, and the user's manual explains a lot more about what you can do with the program.